Do you want to know more about Pallmann's Magic Oil? As it's a Monday here at Ultimate Floor Care, Magic Oil Monday, we usually do a training session where we talk all about Magic Oil, how to apply it, the ins and outs of it. But today we've got Paul with us, who's recently joined Ultimate Floor Care. He's out there talking to you, the customer, and he's got some questions about Magic Oil. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat, and hopefully you guys at home can get a bit more knowledge from it. So what's the first question you've got, Paul?
What kinds of magic oil are there?
Well, in front of us we have all of the different magic oils that are available, but just off the top of my head we've got Magic Oil Original, which is the first one that come into the UK. Obviously started from Germany, it's come into the UK. The next one we've got Magic Oil Ergo, which is a more improved version of Magic Oil Original. So they've made it so you can mix with colours, it's easier to apply, its viscosity levels are higher, so you can apply it with different ways. We've got Magic Oil Spa, which is for high moisture areas like spas, gyms, even kitchen worktops, so it can take a lot more brunt from moisture, so more moisture barriers in there. We've got Magic Oil Pure, so it's going to give you that pure look but without a lacquer. So they've got Palette Pure out there, but they've given it in an oil as well, so it's easier to apply and giving you that pure look. We've also got Change, which is more environmentally friendly, so it's reduced the CO2 because the farm where they grow the hemp, because it's a hemp oil based product, where the rest of them are actually vegetable based. Magical Change is actually hemp based, and they grow it in the same city that it's produced, so they've reduced the CO2 of having to get all the raw materials in from other places around the same country or other countries. Now I know it doesn't help that we're getting it over to the UK from Germany, but it's still reducing it, and it's using a natural made product, so that's really the same thing. So all of them will do exactly the same thing as an ordinary oil will do. What's different is the look and sometimes the feel and the chemical resistance really in them, which is different.
Brilliant.
So yeah, 5 of them at the moment. There's the only 2 that are in the core range of Pallmann here in the UK is Original and Ergo, which will give you your standard sheen levels. But the other ones, they're not in the core range. We have to order it in especially from Germany, but you know, we like to be different, we like to be niche, we like to keep different ones on to offer your customer a bit more variety.
Yeah, definitely. So you briefly just touched on the benefit of using 2K spa in certain environments. For the other magic oils, what jobs would benefit from using those?
So what would benefit magic oil in general being used?
Yeah, so why would you choose magic oil as a product as opposed to anything else?
I think with Pallmann Magic Oil, the one of the key things is its drying time. So as a company that's supplying products and machinery and abrasives to customers out there to make money, time is money. And what a benefit from Pallmann Magic Oil, no matter which one you do, is the drying times, the curing times. These products, they usually cure fully cure at 12 hours, but after around about 4 to 5 hours you can have light foot traffic on there, so light, no shoes on, sort of across the floor, not putting your furniture back. But I think that's so crucial for the client. Most customers can do around about 30 to 40 square metres in a day, sand and ready. If you were putting a lacquer on there, you'd put a coat of primer that night, allow that to dry, come back the next day, put a coat of lacquer over that primer, leave that to dry around about 4 hours, then put a second coat of lacquer on after you've keyed it back, of course. But so you've lost a whole day there. But with the oil system, you can come in and do around about 30 square metres, apply the product within an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're doing it correctly, and then that's you done. You don't need to go back the next day to put another coat on. Now it is a 2-coat system. There's nothing wrong with a 1 coat, but when they say it's a 2-coat system, it's not going to be put a coat, allow it to dry, come back the next day. You can do that, but with this you can do a back-to-back coat. So when you're applying it, you will trowel it down, and then you would beige pad it, and then once you beige pad the whole floor, I would then go to where you started, put a bit more on, and then beige pad it again, so you're almost topping up. leaving it to set for a bit, and that's what we'd call back-to-back coating.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say benefits is the time that you're saving rather than having a lacquer. Also, it's it works wonders on all of the floors out there, except maple. I'd say maple looks really patchy because it's a real white Scandinavian timber.
Yeah.
It just looks a bit patchy. I'd always go for a lacquer with a maple, definitely.
Keep that in mind, mate.
Yeah.
That sounds good, bro, because I know some of our clients work in retail, and so sort of the store gets given to them once they've closed sort of 6 p.m, but they need to have everything sorted by when they reopen their doors at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So obviously that would be a massive benefit, just cutting down on time, they get their job done and then back out.
It's so difficult in the commercial sector because you've got such a short window on large scale projects, but with this product obviously you have got that 12 hours. That's optimum. So that's optimum load bearing. So that's putting furniture, shelves, racking back. In that small time, you can lightly put stuff back as long as it's not scraped across the floor. But also in the commercial sector, what's so key about this is there's so much care that you can do with this. So after sales and after support for your customer, you've got things like magic oil care that you can apply. Your customer can apply. It's so simple. But as well as that, you can come back in a year's time and put another coat down. As the oil wears in the timber, you'll still have some oil in there, but there'll be some bits of the timber that obviously is worn, so some of the oils come up, so you can just go back, give it a real strip it with a nice cleaner, leave it to dry, and then apply the oil back on top of it. It will bring the colour back and it will add additional protection. But it puts you ongoing in a maintenance process with the customer, so they'll always think about you in a year's time, and you need to go back and put another coat.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive benefit, isn't it? Because it's not just for one job and you're done.
No.
There's room for you to always come back and take care of it. And
I think that's so key because a lot of customers of ours take advantage of that, and I think more should do it out there, is getting in the maintenance with the customer, setting their CRM system up to in a year's time, hey Mrs. Jones, we done your floor a year ago, how's it looking? How would you feel about us coming back and brightening it back up or put more protection in there? They are commercial grade products.
Yeah.
But, it depends how they look after the floor, what sort of foot traffic it takes. It's not going to be bulletproof, but it's a really good product, easy to use. The working time and drying times in it are very low, which is great. You can do back-to-back coatings, and like we said, there's 5 different products for 5 different types of application scenario. So they've got it pretty much covered in terms of the oils.
Brilliant. So this is a common question that comes up. So we have Magic Oil Original, and then when we speak with customers, we sort of put them onto Magic Oil Ergo. So if a customer hasn't spoken with us, and then they go on the website and they think, well, I've got Original and Ergo, what's the difference? Can you explain what that difference is?
Yeah, so there's not much in terms of the pricing. It's very similar. So the pricing isn't the difference. What Ergo is a new and improved version of Original. So the base of the product's still there, but what they've done is with Magic Oil Ergo, you can mix the 333 colour concentrates in with it. So there's one small concentrate or 1 litre of Ergo. As well as that, you can apply it standing up, so ergonomic way of applying it. So you have the Magic Oil applicator. I think it needs a little bit of tweaking, but the concept there works. So you can stand up with a pole and apply it with a squeegee. So that's the benefit of it. Its viscosity level is higher, so it's a lot. It's not as hard, so it's a bit more runny. So which is why when you're standing up, you can apply it easier. It's a bit more runny, so it goes a little bit further, easier to apply. Mix colours with it, but in terms of the sheen colours, it's all exactly the same. The reason that we put customers onto Ergo is because what we used to have is customers would have Original, but then they'd want to do a colour. So then they'd have to buy a 333 Pallmann primer to mix a colour with, and then put Original on top. But now if we have an Ergo, and they have half a tin left and they want to do a colour job, all they need to do is buy that colour, so they're saving money. You've got one product that can do a couple of things there, more than the original. You can mix the colour with it, and then you can apply it standing up, and just seems to go down a lot easier. But again, we have customers that prefer the original because they've used it and they're used to it and they trust it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'd say about the Pallmann Magic Oil Range is a lot of customers out there do trust in it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it comes back to, I mean, you just said it again there, is because it saves time. Whichever option you go for, at the end of the day, that's the biggest selling point of Magic Oil, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it does just save time.
Yeah, that's one of our values here at Ultimate Floor Care. We don't want to just sell it to make a profit. We want to help the customers out there save time, because at the end of the day, time is money. And we're constantly looking at tooling or finishes that are going to save on time, whether it's abrasives or finish, application method, and so on. As long as it saves the customer time, saves the customer money.
And then going back to, on the previous question, you'd said about you wouldn't recommend it for maple. What woods, what's the benefit for the different kinds of woods? I mean, obviously you won't be using the spar on the woods, but, is there one where someone would say, look, I've got a pine job, do I have to apply the Magic Oil a bit differently as I would oak or anything like that?
I would say that obviously Magic Oil can be used on any timber, but from previous experience, some of them just don't look as great. What it works really great on is exotic timbers like teaks and stuff like that, because it really brings that richness out. It looks beautiful on oak, but if we're looking at pine, it depends if it's new pine or old pine. If it's got old pine, it gives you that real rust dark look, and also it can bring out some of the, there might be a spill or something like that in the floor, and it really brings them up. So it's also down to customers' expectation. My personal preference is using it on exotics all the time, because sometimes when you use a water-based lacquer, you will get chemical reactions with some of the tannins and other minerals that are in the exotic timbers. It just doesn't take it properly. It will either delaminate or it will go really patchy, purpley, whitey. It just looks awful, and it's because the water base just can't react with the minerals that are in the exotics. So because you've got something here that's oil based, they just mix and float nicely. So exotics all day, I'd go for oils, not only Pallmann's but just other 2K oils.
As a general concept.
As a general concept, yeah. If we've got a pine floor and it's got large gaps, my application method might be a bit different. I may buff it on rather than trowel it, because they say that every Magic Oil floor must be filled. So all of the cracks down the floor, all of the joints should be filled. In the real world, that can't always be done. If you've got a pine floor and it's a large timber, you've got gaps like that. If it's an original floorboards, you can't really fill them. You could strip fill it. Sometimes the customers don't want that. And if you're troweling over that, you're going to lose so much product down there. That's the main reason they say to fill every floor, is so you don't lose product. And also you can go in there, and if it gets on the side of if it gets in the side of the timber here, you can get bleed back. So when you're doing your buffing process, you'll see it bleeding back through the gaps, and sometimes that can really stick out, and it will bleed back for a couple of days. As you've got movement in the joints, you will get bleed back. But as a general rule, I'd say that it's good for all timbers. Again, test patches are key for client expectation, because if you're doing it on a pine floor, sometimes the customer's not going to like the end result. You might say, yeah, it's going to look great, it's going to look a bit darker, but then when you do it, it might be too dark. It might be too light. It might bring that woodworm back up. There might be a scar in there or a urine stain that you couldn't see before until you took that top coat off. You put the oil down, it really pops it up.
Yeah, something to keep in mind. But you always recommend, with any product that we sell, is always just do test patches.
I would always recommend test patches. If you're not sure, test it. With lacquers as well, for abrasion. So you do a scratch test to make sure that it's actually going to stick to it if you're unsure about what species is. If you're new in this game, species can be a big thing, and you think that you want to learn, you want to know how to tell what species is. Sometimes I feel you just don't get too bogged down in the detail. As long as it comes in three of them, it goes softwood, hardwood, and exotic. If you can fit it in those categories, you can find out how to approach each of the floors, which we can talk about on another video.
Mm-hmm. When speaking about patches, can Magic Oil be used for patch repair?
Yeah, it can. If you mean, so you've applied the Magic Oil, then you've got a customer who's got a scratch in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can patch repair it. If it's a very small bit, so if it's just one or two boards, I'd isolate those two boards by taping them up. And the key with repair work is finishing on the same grit you finished on the same floor.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the rest of the floor around it, if you finished on a 120 grit multi-hole, I'd have a 120 grit multi-hole just to finish them two boards off.
Mm.
Because scratch pattern can actually change the tone slightly.
Yeah.
Not massively, but if you want to do a proper job and you want to get it, on level with the rest of the floor, I'd always recommend doing that.
Mm-hmm.
When you've applied the oil and you've left it for a bit, you've taken the tape off. That will look a bit different. Like the sheen level is going to be slightly different. But over time, as the environment starts being the same as the rest of the boards and you get a bit of foot traffic over it, it will blend in over time.
Okay, brilliant.
But you can usually repair a Magic Oil floor within a couple of months. After a couple of months, you may even be able to do it in a year. It does depend on the environment and stuff like that. Mm. But you may have you run the risk of it not blending if it's over like a year's time.
Yeah.
If it's over a year's time, I'd probably just screen back and do the whole floor, or give it a care product.
Yeah.
Give it a real good cleaning care product.
Oh,
but in general terms, yes, that's another benefit of using the Magic Oil system is it's patch repairable with ease as well.
Mm.
So you can put that in your customer's mind of when you've finished their floor with an oil, you can go back. So as a business, you can offer a little bit of a guarantee, which will give them another reason to choose you. You're using premium grade products. If you're charging premium grade prices, you're giving them a little bit of a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth investing in.
Yeah, most definitely. So finally, I know you briefly covered one aspect of it with Ergo, but how do you apply it and what sort of coverage do these products give?
If we're looking at manufacturers' guidelines, or Pallmann's manufacturers' guidelines, they advise that you sand it to a fine grit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have it filled. You stainless steel spatula it, so the way you would a filler.
Mm-hmm.
You put it on the floor, you mix it up, put it on the floor, you trowel it on, then you beige pad it. A beige pad is going to get the oil that you've pushed into the timber, take the top bit and just even distribute on the floor. You go over it again to remove some of the excess, and then you want to leave it for it dry and then white pad it. But another way you can do it, which I've found is quite effective in the past, is padding it. So go straight on with a beige pad, take the middle out, pour it on the floor, or pour it on the floor and then put your pad on it, and pad it into the floor. And then go back over it and take the excess off, and then white pad it. Problem with that is you're not, with the stainless steel trowel, when you're pushing it, you're really pushing it into the grain and the grooves of the timber. With the pad, you are still getting it in there, but not as much. But that's an effective way if you want to do on a commercial. If you're looking at a large job, looking at a sports hall or something like that, or a village hall, because you wouldn't really do sports hall, but a village hall, and you want to ergo it, but you don't want to sit there and trowel it. You can just pad it. You may use some more oil. It may not take in as much, but that's another way. And of course, when we talk about the ergo, you can use the applicator where you stand up with a squeegee. That's your key ways. That's your key 3 ways to apply the Magic Oil, really. I'd always recommend sticking with the advice and the guidance of the manufacturer, which is stainless steel trowel, beige pad, white pad.
Yes.
But you can just buff it on. It does have its challenges with not putting enough on the floor and can get a bit messy, especially for your machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
No, brilliant.
Cool.
Well,
happy with that?
thank you very much.
No worries. So that's Magic Oil Monday talk. So we've just been, so as it's Magic Oil Monday, we're going to go back into the room soon because we've got a couple of attendees turned up for our Magic Oil Monday. But we thought before we do it, we'd just do a bit of a Q&A. Paul's got some questions from some of his customers, and we will definitely do this again. So stay tuned for some more knowledge on Magic Oil as a core range, and don't forget to like and subscribe.